Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life. I feel alive when I got a goal in sight. Chip away, I gotta fight. Ain't nobody else in sight. Man, I think I see the light. Yeah, that shit is so bright. Follow me, I got the guide. See you on the other side, son. Ain't nobody know what I've been through.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC Vegas 78 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, August 12, 2023 at Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Vicente Luque taking on Rafael dos Anjos in the main event in a welterweight bout. In the co-main event, we have Swanson taking on Hakeem, Dawodu in a featherweight bout. And overall for a UFC Apex card, this is a little bit more of what I would expect from a UFC Apex card, right? So you got some names on there. It doesn't look absolutely just shot. I mean, the main event, Vicente Luque taking on Dos Anjos, that's a pretty solid matchup, right? It's not the best matchup, but it's good enough for a UFC Apex card. So I really like this UFC Apex card, at least on paper, and we just have to kind of see how it performs. But anyway, looking to do good on another event, really get in there. I want to get a perfect before the year ends. We'll see if that happens. But either way, let's jump right into it. In the first fight on the main card, we have Josh Fremd, 10-4, taking on Jamie Pickett, 13-9 in a middleweight bout. So this is an interesting matchup because you have Fremd coming in with a victory, right, over Dumas. Was able to get 2 takedowns in that fight, then got the submission in round number 2. Before that, lost to Tresean Gore via submission, and then before that, UFC debut, lost to Anthony Hernandez via unanimous decision. He got taken down 8 times in that fight. Tresean Gore took him down 3 times, but then he's able to take down Dumas 2 times. So I don't think against better wrestlers he's going to find too much success, but against someone who's a little bit new, right? Dumas was undefeated coming in the UFC. He was able to get that grappling going, and I wouldn't count him out, right? For Josh Fremd, he can mix in that kind of grindy style. I think just coming forward, he has good heavy shots with his counters. And then obviously he was able to control, like in his last fight that he wins, he was able to control Dumas on the floor just because he just had the better grappling. Good jab, good leg kicks. And I think Fremd is one of these guys who's going to get in your face. He's going to throw those leg kicks. He's going to constantly pop out that jab. And he's going to be like a little bit, he doesn't have the best defense, I would say, but he's definitely going to stay in your face. And then he can kind of fight a grindy fight, a little bit of a brawly fight. And he has some power, so he can stay on you. And when you look at someone like Jamie Pickett, who just unfortunately for him has not been able to get anything really together inside the UFC. Even the first 2 on the Dana White Contender Series, 2 losses, wins 1, 2 losses inside of the UFC, wins 2 fights. In those 2 fights, he gets 2 takedowns, right? Significant strikes, 50, 51, very, outside of the grappling, it's not like he's doubling up on the numbers on the significant strikes landed. So still low volume as far as like the strikes that he lands, but he gets 2 takedowns in those fights and wins unanimous decisions. He takes on Daukaus. He loses via submission. Next fight, he loses via KO TKO. And then his last fight, he loses via submission. So again, not really finding the success going into the UFC. I think he's one of these fighters, Jamie Pickett, when he's forced to start getting pushed back up against the fence and just not be the aggressor, he starts to fold under that pressure and he just doesn't get anything going. Obviously against Bo Nickel, I think, there really wasn't much to that. They said I think he said the groin shot or something like that, but I still think Nickel would have been able to, control him or whatever. Against Daukaus, the submission. Against Denis Tululian, he loses that KO TKO. Unfortunate for him. Again, a fight where he was kind of getting pressured. Fremd might be able to hurt him on the feet. If he can pressure him, Fremd might be able to hurt him on the feet and then pull off a submission on the floor. Pickett just hasn't looked good. I mean, his record's not the best. I just worry that he's not gonna. I mean, he can obviously clip Fremd, but I feel like he's just gonna get fold. He's gonna fold underneath that aggression. And then whether he gets taken down or it's just against the fence, he's just not going to have that success. But for Pickett, he does have some pretty good leg kicks, good body kicks. He needs to circle out a lot more too. Like, he can't get pushed up against the fence. He's got to circle out, start landing a lot more shots, start going for it a little bit more, and see if he can take advantage of Fremd. Mix it up better, go to the head kicks, right? Do something, right? You can't just sit there and just kind of let your opponent dictate that pace, because if you can't handle that, then you're just going to get folded up on. So I'm going to go with Josh Fremd. I just think he's not necessarily the best fighter. I don't feel like Josh Fremd is going to be like knocking people out and being in the top 10 or whatever. But I do think in this fight against a guy who's just not getting his groove in the UFC, I think he can take him. So I'm going to go Josh Fremd on this one. I think he might hurt him on the feet, get him against the fence, Pickett goes down, and then that's when Josh Fremd jumps on him and tries to get a submission. So I'm going to go Josh Fremd to defeat Jamie Pickett by round 2 submission. In the second fight on the main card, we have AJ Dobson, 6-2-1 no contest, taking on Tafon and Nchukwi, 6-3 in a middleweight bout. I really think this fight comes down to whether or not we see Dobson being able to not be outvolumed in this fight, mix in some takedowns if he can, and then obviously stay away from the big power of Nchukwi, because Nchukwi is going to definitely be dangerous and close. He's willing to trade. He also has some wrestling with him, and that's something I really don't know who's going to be the better grappler here. Just the better wrestling, the strength. We've seen both guys be able to land some takedowns. Nchukwi has 71 takedown defense. The total takedown in the grappling, that might just negate itself up against the fence, but it's the breakaways for Nchukwi where if he's able to start landing some big shots on Dobson, that could be problematic for him. But at the same time for Dobson, I think he has really good head movement. I feel like he can kind of get out of the way of Nchukwi if he starts swinging wildly, and then Dobson just needs to fire back, right? He's got to put a little bit more effort into landing strikes, popping something out there, popping out the jab, throwing the leg kicks, going to the body. Like, he's just got to mix up more combinations, because unfortunately he's kind of getting outstruck. It's not like he's getting dominated, like I really wouldn't say that, but he's just not getting the striking going. Like, he kind of sits back, definitely has the ability to get out of the way, but then isn't really firing back with anything. Now for Nchukwi, he just doesn't want to get finished, right? He doesn't want to get finished. You got the flying knee, you get the KO. Now, granted, that's against two really good guys, but still, right? He's kind of going out on a shield in the last two fights where he knows that any moment he could KO. He leaves himself a little bit exposed, but he knows that, hey, man, if I can land, I'm putting these guys to sleep. It's very risky, though. So it'd be interesting to see if he fights more how he fought against Mike Rodriguez. He tries to get those takedowns. He tries to land more volume. And that's the scary thing for Dobson, is just like, are we going to see an improvement in stringing together those combinations? Are we going to see a little bit more aggression from Dobson? Are we going to see his ability to get out of the way with that head movement of Nchukwi? I think it really comes down to what kind of fighter we see from Dobson, because I feel like we have a lot more to look at for Nchukwi, and we know he has KO power. We know he's dangerous, but for Dobson, it's like, what are we gonna get here? Are we gonna see, more aggression, more volume? Does he know that he's kind of just letting the last two fights get out of there? And then obviously with the grappling, the wrestling, who is it gonna negate, or is it gonna be one guy just dominating it, like up against the fence? But I wouldn't advise for Dobson to be in close, like pushing him up against the fence, because like I said, Nchukwi can break off, start landing some heavy shots, because he'll start throwing down and he won't really care about it. So yeah, let's see what happens with Dobson first before we count him out. So I'm gonna go AJ Dobson to defeat Tafon and Nchukwi by decision. In the third fight on the main card, we have Polyana Viana, 13-5, taking on Iasmin Lucindo, 14-5 in a women's strawweight bout. This is a pretty good women's fight. I think we have Viana, who, she's coming off that KO TKO against Jinyu Frey. Pretty short fight. Was able to get that knockdown, get the finish, put her away. Against Tabitha Ricci in the fight before that, she loses via unanimous decision. Gets taken out 5 times. So obviously the takedowns in that one, because the striking landed, was pretty similar, but it was the takedowns that was the difference. Then she comes off 2 wins, 2 armbar submission victories against Mallory Martin and Emily Whitmire. And then before that, she loses Veronica Hardy, and then you get a little bit too far back. But for Viana, I think if she goes into this fight thinking that she's gonna, stand and trade with Lucindo, that's not gonna be a good idea for her. Obviously, the thing here, she's probably gonna want to have that fight get to the ground somehow, and then start trying to go for those submissions. Because on the feet, I think Lucindo's striking is a little bit more clean. I think she'll be able to land the harder shots as well, and do it in a way that's not. I feel like Viana can definitely be hit. Lucindo has pretty big power. Now, both have good power, but Lucindo, I think, just has that little bit more controlled striking aggression where when she's, it looks like she's just brawling a little bit, but she's going to still have really good head movement, get out of the way, and then fire back with some pretty big shots. Whereas Viana, she's going to run in there, throw those big shots, but then I definitely think she can be exposed to getting hit as well. For Viana, obviously defend the takedowns, but then see if she can kind of switch it around to where she's the one in the advantageous position to land the submissions. If Viana can find a way to reverse or something like that, and she does have pretty good control, ground and pound, she's going to look for the submissions. But she's not going to be, in my opinion, diving in for takedowns on Lucindo. I think Lucindo will definitely be the one to be more aggressive with the takedowns if she chooses to do that. But I think on the feet, Lucindo can find success. I think she can have the more technical striking. She can get in and out, land those big shots, and then kind of put it on Viana. And then that's when you have Viana maybe the one shooting in. But Lucindo, I think she's strong enough to kind of keep her off of her. Maybe she controls Viana against the fence. Lucindo just needs to put the aggression on. She needs to stay on her with the combinations. And then if she wants the fight to go to the ground, she just has to make sure that she's in a dominant position and landing ground and pound, just doing more damage overall. So Viana's not really able to find those opportunities to kind of switch it up. So yeah, I would like to just see it on the feet for Lucindo, see what she can do, and then kind of just chip away at her, have the better success in the combinations, and then see if she can come out of this one without being submitted. I'm really not worried about Viana like landing big on her. I just don't think that's gonna happen. It could, I guess, but I think more so Viana would win by like a submission, whereas Lucindo, she might be able to get that KO TKO or the decision if she's beating her up. And I just feel like I said, I just feel like she's gonna have the better of the exchanges and strong enough to defend the takedowns, or at least control her on the floor to where she's not getting submitted. So for me, in this fight, I'm going to go Iasmin Lucindo to defeat Polyana Viana. I'll take her to win by decision. In the fourth fight on the main card, we have Khalil Rountree Jr. 12-5, 1-0 contest, taking on Chris Daukaus 12-6 in the light heavyweight bout. So this is an interesting fight because you have Chris Daukaus, who's at heavyweight. Now he's moving down to light heavyweight. I still think this is a very dangerous thing for him to do because Rountree, welcome to the light heavyweight division. Very explosive, nasty power. And honestly, he can go to a decision if he needs to. There might be moments where he does get clipped and stuff, but he's always dangerous. And, it's not heavyweight, but Rountree's definitely going to be able to drop Chris Daukaus, right? So he has to be careful. Daukaus is one of these fighters where I feel like if he's able to string together good combinations with more of it has to be a lengthy combination too. It's not like a one shot. He's going to be able to finish his opponent. We saw that against Shamil Abdurrahimov, Alexei Oleinik, Rodrigo Nascimento, Parker Porter. Now, granted, all those guys to me are average level middle heavyweights, and he does finish them, but then he kind of takes that step up, right, to the next level of heavyweights, and he's fighting Derek Lewis, gets absolutely crushed. Fights Curtis Blades, gets crushed, right? Fights Jairzinho Rosenstrike, crushed. And obviously, yes, these guys have big power and they just need one shot to land. But then he goes to light heavyweight and he's fighting a similar kind of thing where this guy only needs one shot and it could come even faster than some of the other heavyweights with that explosive power. Heavy kicks as well. And at any time, he could just trade back and forth and drop him and take him out. So for Chris Daukaus, he's going to have to play this one safe, right? You know, I don't think anyone's getting taken down. So I don't think Rountree is going to really have to worry about that. Daukaus doesn't have to worry about getting taken down. But they do have to worry, Daukaus does have to worry about getting that flash KO real quick. He's going to have to take this one deep, you know, kind of tire out Rountree. And that might even, maybe he's not going in for takedowns, but he might hold him against the fence, right? Work a little bit there. Daukaus is really going to have to tire out Rountree. And we've seen that before where he does get tired a little bit. But even against Dustin Jacoby, where he wins a split decision, which arguably, you know, he might a little bit questionable if he won that decision. I guess he did defend 3 takedowns, so that was pretty good. But Dustin Jacoby, we just saw what he did, and I think that was a pretty good victory. You know, not to get absolutely crushed by him. Against Carl Robertson, he gets KO TKO victory in round number 2. Before that, KO TKO with that kick, nasty kick, and then he loses decision, KO. Ian Kutalaba. I feel like really Rountree struggles if you're able to blitz him, and I just don't think Daukaus is going to come out there blitzing him. I feel like he's going to want to take this fight to the round 3, see if he can tire him out a little bit, carry that muscle around, and then get the victory. So it'll be interesting to see like how Daukaus approaches this, but then at the same time, it's like one massive bomb from Rountree, and I think it's just he clips him and falls on the floor. So yes, Daukaus could do this and that, but anywhere in there he gets clipped, he goes down, it's all over. Whereas Rountree, you really have to break this guy down, because I still think he's going to win those wild exchanges. Like if Rountree gets into a wild exchange, I'm still a little bit banking on him to come out of those exchanges. This is how nasty his power is, how explosive he is. Whereas Daukaus, I just can't trust that chin. And like I said, I get that he's going down to light heavyweight, but he's not fighting like a volume light heavyweight. You know, he's fighting a guy who arguably is as nasty as KO power as Lewis, Blades, and Rosenstrike. So yeah, I still feel like Rountree's going to be able to clip him early on and then put him away. Daukaus is going to need to look for that long fight, string together the combinations, you know, go to the legs. He just has to do a lot to wear out Rountree Jr. And if he can't do that, you know, I think it's night-night. So for me, I'm going to go Khalil Rountree Jr. to defeat Chris Daukaus. I'm going to take the win by round 1 KO TKO. In the co-main event of the evening, we got Cub Swanson 28-13 taking on Hakeem Dawodu 13-3-1 in a featherweight bout. Cub Swanson, obviously veteran in the game, coming off of a loss against Jonathan Martinez via those leg kicks, KO TKO. Before that, he just absolutely annihilated Darren Elkins. Just the striking was just far different. It takes him out. And then the fight before that, he loses to Giga Chikadze via KO TKO with that kick to the liver and gets taken out. I think when Swanson, at least, you know, in his past, let's just look at his past 10 fights. When he fights that next level competition, he's losing. When he's fighting guys like Kron Gracie, Daniel Pineda, and then Darren Elkins, he's just annihilating them because they just aren't on that veteran status where Cub Swanson's pretty well rounded. You know, he's not necessarily going to be diving in for takedowns, but I think he can handle himself offensively if he needs to with the grappling, takedowns, control against the fence. And then at the same time, I think he can handle himself defending takedowns, right? So I don't think he's going to get taken down consistently. I mean, that hasn't even been a competitive thing since the Artem Lobov fight where he got taken down twice. But even in that fight, he significantly outstrikes him. Duhu Choi, that war, you know, outstrikes him. He's a solid fighter. Like, he's just not, unfortunately, able to defeat these higher, like, next level guys, right? He gets taken out by them. The fight against Shane Burgos, though, that was a pretty close fight, split decision. And not the Moicano, he gets submitted. Loses to Frankie Edgar back in the day. Brian Ortega. But even in that Frankie Edgar fight, he's able to basically defend 8 takedowns. So yeah, I mean, I don't think Swanson is necessarily like done for. Like, I don't look at him like, oh, he's shot, like he's gone. I just think, unfortunately for him, when he fights that top, that top level competition, or the up and comers that are like obviously doing really well, they're able to kind of run through him. And for him, obviously, as of late against Chikadze and then Martinez, it's just how it's been able to go. But I don't think he's done. For Dawodu, he's coming into this fight with a loss over Julian Arosa. He gets taken down twice and outstruck a little bit to a unanimous decision. Against Michael Trezano, he gets the unanimous decision victory. Gets taken out once, but outstrikes him doubled almost. Against Movsar Evloev, he gets taken out 9 times and he loses a unanimous decision. So he does struggle with the grappling, but again, I don't think Swanson will be, unless he's absolutely struggling on the feet, diving in for like takedowns consistently. I think Swanson will want to try and see if he can handle it on the feet first. Before that, he wins some split decisions. KO TKO, split decision, unanimous decision. But obviously this one is going to be the highest, the biggest name for Dawodu to see if he can get in there. And yeah, you got to beat this guy to stay in that featherweight division and then try to hit that next level, right? I think at this point, Swanson's kind of like fighting a gatekeeper. It's just a matter of how you're doing it, right? If this fight is competitive, I don't think it'll be good for Dawodu. But if they're able to, if he's able to really annihilate Swanson, that's obviously going to look good for him. But with that being said, I mean, Dawodu, he has good leg kicks. I think he's very patient. He has to be careful throwing some of these leg kicks out there. Swanson might be able to catch him and then go for that takedown. Swanson's still pretty nasty with his boxing, so I think Dawodu getting to some of these, getting a little bit too careless, a little bit wild, Swanson might be able to take advantage of that. Swanson does keep his hands low though, so that's a little concerning. He can definitely be clipped. We've seen that before. And then for Dawodu, I think we've seen some weakness in Swanson with the leg kicks, and then obviously Chikadze going to the body. And granted, with Chikadze, it's not like, again, like I said, Swanson's not getting crushed every fight. I think the biggest thing was just the leg kicks of Martinez, more so than the liver kick. Obviously, I think Jonathan Martinez was really able to capitalize on attacking that leg, and Dawodu might want to look to do something similar. If he's able to do that, obviously it's harder than it looks, but I don't know. Swanson, I feel like probably could win the stand up here. It's just, again, like whether or not he's going to look absolutely bad. Like, I think a really good Cub Swanson is pretty decent still, where Dawodu will struggle on the feet. And then if we see Swanson look for the takedowns, who knows? Maybe he's able to take down Dawodu and control him. And then that kind of helps him stay off the feet and run the risk of getting taken out. But yeah, I don't look at the Martinez fight like, oh, Cub Swanson, he's done, man. Like, he's shot. Like, Jonathan Martinez is pretty freaking good, right? Like, he defeats Syed Nurmagomedov, right? He's pretty good. It's not like, oh no, like I can't believe it. He took out Darren Elkins. If he didn't take out Darren Elkins, and that might have been concerning, but he definitely killed him. Loses to Giga Chikadze. Okay, like, he's good as well, right? He was one-shotting people with that liver kick. Defeats Daniel Pineda. Okay, I think he needs to do that. Defeats Kron Gracie. Same thing. I think that's good. And then he has some pretty tough outings, 4 in a row against really top-level guys. So again, he's not getting knocked out every fight and it looks horrible. But I think Swanson's overall a really good mixed martial artist, right? He can do a little bit of everything. The wrestling, the grappling, the boxing, the stand-up, good hands. So I don't see him as being like over yet, but he is fighting an up-and-comer in Dawodu who is obviously going to be looking to get that finish. It's just, I don't also see from Dawodu like a guy who's been running through everyone, KO. No, it's decision, split decisions, and then a unanimous decision. So we'll have to see what happens here. But I think if Swanson can mix in some of that wrestling and slow the fight down a little bit, and then on the feet find the better success with the boxing, take advantage of Dawodu a little bit, where, you know, if he goes for the leg kicks, counter off the leg kicks, take him down. Yeah, I think Cub Swanson isn't done yet. I don't want to count him out. So I can understand why though, like, you know, fade the older guy, but I just don't think he's looked absolutely horrible against like a bad fighter yet. I think he's just been fighting really good guys. And like I said, the Darren Elkins, if he lost to him or Daniel Pineda or Kron Gracie, like that would have been concerning to me. Like, oh, he's starting to lose it a little bit, but he's fighting the top level dudes. So until I see something different, I'm not gonna disrespect Cub Swanson. And Dawodu, like I said, it's a tough fighter. You know, he's gonna have to come in here and really put on a good show. You know, obviously, I think he needs to get a finish or severely just kind of beat up Cub Swanson. I don't think Dawodu's gonna be going in for takedowns here. So Dawodu's gonna have to keep this fight standing, and probably just do a lot of the leg kicks, fight from a little bit of a distance. You know, don't engage in close too much, because I feel like Swanson's boxing is gonna be pretty decent. So don't get into those wild exchanges, and see if he can do something here. But I'm gonna go Cub Swanson to defeat Hakeem Dawodu. Man, I'm just gotta go with the veteran on this one. So I'll take him to win by decision. In the main event of the evening, we have Vicente Luque taking on Rafael dos Anjos, 21-9-1 for Luque, and then 32-14 for dos Anjos in a welterweight bout in the main event. So I think both guys are really technical. I would go towards more dos Anjos being like super technical and trying to mix in the takedowns, content with just grappling his opponents. Whereas Luque, he wants to hurt his opponents, right? He wants to go in there, he wants to take you out. He wants to cause that violence. He welcomes a brawl, even though sometimes I don't think it's the smartest thing to go for. He can also submit his opponents as well. Darce choke, we saw that defensively against Michael Chiesa, so I wouldn't count him out if he gets taken down against dos Anjos. Now, granted, dos Anjos has good control. He's also going to try to go for his own submissions if that happens. But I think on the feet, like, dos Anjos is more technical, but Luque is definitely going to be landing some nasty combinations. He's going to be going for the kill. But that's a little concerning too, because Luque has to be careful tiring himself out, because if dos Anjos is able to, dos Anjos can keep coming and going forward, and he's definitely going to be able to keep that pace up. Whereas Luque, because he gets into these wild exchanges and he's always trying to go for the kill, he does start to, I think, in my opinion, tire out a little bit. And then that's obviously concerning, because if he's gassed out, dos Anjos are going to keep going and possibly win a decision and, tire him out. Both guys have good power. Luque, I think, strings it together more with the combinations, and then dos Anjos, his pretty good left hand, nasty leg kicks. He can string together his own combinations. But again, I think Luque himself is the one that puts that violence behind it more so. I think this really comes down to whether or not Luque gets taken down consistently. Like, if he's getting taken down and controlled, then yeah, dos Anjos either wins a decision or he's going to be able to finally submit him or whatever. And then that'll make Luque, constantly have to worry about being taken down, and that'll open up the striking for dos Anjos. That's my only concern here. I don't know. I feel like Luque on the feet early on, I just feel like he can clip dos Anjos, kind of like Fiziev did, but not in the 5th round. I think he could do it early on, Luque, if he's aggressive enough. If he presses forward, gets in dos Anjos' face, maybe defends a takedown a little bit, and then goes in to see if he can continue with the striking. It'll be interesting. This is a pretty entertaining fight. I think it's a good matchup. Both guys very talented in their skill sets, so I'm expecting a pretty good war. But I don't think it goes to decision unless it's dos Anjos having the success with the wrestling. I really don't think it goes to decision. I think either guy, it gets hurt, whether it's a submission or whatever. But yeah, I think early on is probably when this happens, and I think we're really gonna get to see a lot too. Like, if whichever guy's getting pieced up pretty badly early on, or if it's a back and forth. But I like Luque early on. I think he wants to get back in there. He's coming off 2 losses. Again, been fighting killers, right? Bilal Muhammad had the better wrestling, Jeff Neal finally was letting it go in that fight and was able to get him. So Jeff Neal, tough guy as well. So that was a pretty good, although he lost Luque, I think it was a pretty good fight for him to have. And then obviously for Dos Anjos, he gets finished by Fiziev, and then he beats Barberena. But I think that's just because we've seen Barberena, like he's getting taken down like 14 times and stuff. That's his kryptonite. And then Dos Anjos, yeah, submitting him. I think that's pretty. I mean, that was a pretty predictable fight. But it's something to take away from Dos Anjos. He's got a tough fight in front of him in Luque. And Luque has a tough fight in a veteran of Dos Anjos who's been around forever, man. So I'm going to side with Vicente Luque, though. I'm going to take him to defeat Rafael Dos Anjos by round 2 KO TKO. So that'll do, guys, for my UFC Vegas 78 main card predictions for this upcoming event taking place August 12, 2023, this Saturday. Pretty good UFC Apex card. Make sure you guys tune into that one. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next video.